Hi, this is Dima Brook from XP.NETWORK. Today we're going to speak about decentralized, or better say distributed systems. And it's important to note that XP.NETWORK as a bridge is pioneering in validator distribution. And let's discuss why. So first of all, let's see what it means to be decentralized, distributed, or centralized. So let's first begin with discussing the concept of centralization. So, what is centralization? From this image, which illustrates the concept of centralization, you can see that all the nodes of the network eventually end up in a central node, which is obviously the single point of failure. So whatever happens with this point, either it is down, or it's offline, or something happened with it. For example, it was hacked, the entire system goes down. So the first thing you have to know about centralized system is that the security is undermined if the central point of failure has been hacked. Scalability for such systems is potentially possible. There are two types of scalability, vertical and horizontal. So vertical scalability is possible for such systems, but it's very costly. By vertical scalability, we understand enhancing the system, meaning you have more CPUs on this machine, you have more memory, you have a wider bandwidth of internet, but in order to increase all that, you need to invest a lot of money. And still there are limits to how scalable this can be. There are limits to how many CPUs you can have on one machine, how much memory you can attach, and so on. And horizontal scalability means that you can have systems in parallel that do pretty much the same and share the load. So since we have a single node which controls everything and all the other nodes talk to this node, you understand that it's impossible. Maintenance of the system is also problematic. So on the one hand, you can just shut down this central node, you can upgrade it and launch it again. But any moment of maintenance means the whole system is down, because even if the rest of the nodes are working, they don't have this central node which they interact with, and it means the entire system is down. Usually, when a system is centralized, there is a single entity, single company or a person who maintains this central node. We can call this entity a provider. So this provider can one day make a decision for the entire thing to stop. And if people have assets locked in the system, which are controlled by the central node, then they're in trouble. So if there are so many negative sides to centralization, why do people even use it? Well, first of all, it is easy to understand, it is easy to design, it's easy to develop, and it's easy to maintain. Because basically you deal with one node, and it's kind of easy to understand what it does. Okay, so why do people apply it? Because sometimes they need a quick solution to prove a concept, which usually in production, in programming means a minimal viable product. So if you have to prove some idea, some concept, it's something that you can implement using a centralized system. Decentralization. Well, the picture here shows you that there are several centers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the system keeps working even if one of those centers is down. Of course, it might mean that those nodes cannot communicate with the rest of the network anymore, but at least the rest of the network is still up, and the rest of the network is not impacted so much as it was in a completely centralized system. So let's discuss what is decentralization. So decentralization has advantages and disadvantages. So let's speak about advantages first. So first of all, it's fail-safe. There is a lot of redundancy. It means all the nodes do the same thing pretty much. And if one of them is down, they can always go to the nearest neighbor and pass the information through that nearest neighbor. So for example, in this case, we see that there is a direct connection between those central nodes, but there's still a connection via this side node. And there is even another one. Agility. So the nodes can potentially distribute workloads if some nodes are too busy, have too many requests, then other nodes can take the burden of the load and do the job for them, which also allows for higher availability. It means the nodes are not necessarily at 100% busy. They're eagerly ready to accept new requests because other nodes take partially the load of processing information. This also leads to faster processing because the nodes are not so busy. The processors don't have to share their time with too many processes, and it allows for less hops, especially if the system uses nodes that are geographically located in different areas. So for example, if you at least have one node in Europe, one node in North America, one node in South America, one node in Asia, and so on, then as the users talk to the node, they will only need to talk to the nearest node without having to talk to the nodes that are far away. This system is scalable because since there are multiple centers, you can do things in parallel. So for example, this node can do the job of processing instead of this node or this node, depending on where the user is. And it means the rest of the nodes are less loaded with requests. Scalability is possible both vertical and horizontal, which means you can enhance the hardware of each node individually. This is vertical scalability of the nodes, and horizontally you can add more nodes, more centers to split the load. However, even this method has disadvantages. Let's talk about them. So first of all, analytics. System monitoring in such distributed system is much harder than in a centralized one, because in a centralized one you have the immediate access to all the information flows in one place. Here you have to collect them in multiple places, and if some places are too distant or not responding, you might have difficulties doing that. Besides, different nodes will probably have a different distribution of load, so you will have to calculate their individual load and then probably build a graph and calculate average, maximum, minimum, and other statistics for each node. While in a centralized system, you just have one statistics, just the load. Another problem is in the decentralized system, you might still have clusters, and each cluster may have their own centroids. And if this centroid is down, for this cluster, it is pretty similar to a centralized system. So this cluster can no longer talk to the rest of the chain. Okay, so this is about decentralized systems. And finally, let's go to distributed systems or data mesh. Well, here you can see that all the nodes are interconnected, and there are no visible centroids. Maybe some nodes have more load than the others because they have more connections with the other nodes, and therefore probably they process more information. However, even if this node is down, no part of the network is cut off because there are no centroids. There are other ways for the nodes to communicate with each other. Maybe you will have to do more hops, but still you're not cut off. You still have access to the entire network. So let's discuss pros and cons of this type of chain. Among advantages are even distribution. So all nodes have equal rights. There are no clear centroids. This allows for stability, scalability, security, and agility. Pretty much the advantages of the decentralized network. Among the disadvantages are upgradability of such system is pretty complicated. The changes are always asynchronous because when one node is upgraded, it doesn't necessarily mean that the others are upgraded at the same time. Moreover, it's even not recommended to do so, because if everybody starts upgrading immediately, it means the entire network is down. And hardware is equally expensive. You can have nodes that have more load than the others because all the nodes are interconnected, and any node at any moment can become a centroid or can become a node with a big load for its neighbors. Again, analytics is a nightmare. It's even harder than with a system with several centroids, because here all the nodes are independent, all the nodes are equal, and in order to understand what's going on with the network, you have to collect information from all the nodes to have the precise information about what's going on. So in conclusion, we can say that every architecture is a trade-off, and none of them is completely perfect. Centralized solutions are fast and easy to understand and implement. Decentralized and distributed networks provide more security, stability, scalability, and agility, while monitoring and upgrading decentralized and distributed networks is hard and sometimes close to impossible. You probably heard about hard forks of blockchains. One of the first hard forks happened with Ethereum, which is the reason why we now have Ethereum Classic and Ethereum proper. So the validators, the nodes who didn't want to migrate to the new version of Ethereum, they just kept working as they were, and this created Ethereum Classic. The validators who decided to change the technology, they upgraded their nodes, and they kept working with Ethereum as we know it. So sometimes you see upgrading just doesn't work because some of the participants don't agree to do so. Same thing happened with Bitcoin several times. That's why we also have several versions of Bitcoin with different prices of Bitcoin with different participants. So like I'm telling you, there are drawbacks and advantages in every system. However, of course, usually systems emerge as something simple, and with time, as they encounter problems, they solve those problems and become more complicated and more resistant to those problems. But for the newcomers, this sometimes may even create a barrier because of the hard learning curve to understand this new and complicated technology. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss our future videos. See you next week, and goodbye.